old?
It says "Hey Arnold" on it, but
Oh,
part
okay.
of it is
I knew the guy.
it says "Hey Old." That's kind of funny, actually. Sorry, Adrian.
The guy who created Arnold is a friend of mine.
Nice.
Really?
That's amazing. All right, Adrian, you're up.
Hello, my name is Adrian, and the people that are in the Asian Elephant Group are me, Blake, Beckett, Evelyn, and Carmen. Asian elephants have thick, dark gray skin that varies in thickness. At its thickest point, their skin is about 1.5 inches thick and paper thin in other spots. They also have huge ears that swivel around like large satellites, picking up even the tiniest of sounds. The ears also help cool the elephant. When they flap them, the blood vessels in the ears fill up and the blood cools, which can lower their body temperature by several degrees. Some have large tusks that stick out from their mouths, which they can use to dig and root into the ground. Their feet are the size of huge dinner plates and have a thick pad of gristle, which helps them to walk more quiet and access shock absorbers. They have coarse hairs on their body here and there. Young Asian elephants are covered in brownish reddish hair that falls off with age. Their long trunks are used for grabbing food and spraying water on themselves as a way to clear or cool off their skin. Elephants live and roam in wet and dry grasslands of South and Southeastern Asia. They can be found in 13 different Asian countries in dry and wet locations. Asian elephants are found in isolated pockets of India and Southeast Asia, including Sumatra and Borneo. Elephants make their home by judging the number of resources that are there, the temperature, and it even depends on where they were born. Elephants usually live and adapt to their environment's diverse weather conditions. It ranges from pouring rain and then a drought. Asian elephants are herbivores and spend 80% of the day eating and moving towards more food and water sources. A typical Asian elephant eats approximately 160 to 300 pounds of food a day. However, they do not continuously eat all day long. They tend to feed in the early morning, afternoon, and night. They even rest and take naps during the hottest parts of the day. Their diet mostly consists of tree bark, grasses, roots, and some shrubbery. Asian elephants have been known to feed on crops grown in farmers' fields. They especially enjoy eating sugarcane, bananas, and rice crops. However, this often leads to angry farmers that respond to most enthusiastic elephants.
Female Asian elephants have their first calf when they're in their teenage years. However, male Asian elephants father their first calf when they're in their 30s. This is because younger males are not able to compete with the more aggressive, dominating older elephants. When an adult male becomes filled with testosterone and is capable of siring young, he becomes very aggressive and attractive to female elephants. The process of this testosterone drive is called must. Female elephants go into estrus about every 115 days. She is pregnant with her calf between 21 and a half to 22 months. This is the second longest gestation period for any animal on the planet. Adult females usually give birth every 3 to 8 years, depending on the environmental conditions. Baby elephants or calves can stand and nurse soon after being born. They also eat their mother's dung because it gives the calves nutrients and symbiotic bacteria that helps them digest cellulose, insoluble fibers of plants. Calves nurse for 6 months and then they begin feeding on vegetation as well as continuing to nurse. Some calves are not fully weaned until their mother delivers another calf. The lifespan of elephants is not really understood. Data suggests that Asian female elephants have an average lifespan of 47 years. But again, more data is needed to fully understand and accurately record the lifespan of Asian elephants. Asian elephants are extremely social animals that have deep relationships with one another. Female Asian elephants typically live together in herds of related females consisting of mothers, daughters, aunts, and grandmothers. Immature male offspring also stay with the female herd until they reach sexual maturity at around the ages 8 to 13. The family herd of elephants all work together to raise their offspring and to protect the herd. An interesting fact about Asian elephants, there is no matriarch. Individual females sometimes take on a more leadership type of role. In the past, Asian elephants were known to be antisocial because they didn't live in large, close-knit herds like African elephants. But female Asian elephants can actually form friendships with other elephants and other families. Some of these friendships last even when the elephants haven't seen each other for months or even years. Mature male Asian elephants are known to be more solitary and more aggressive than females, but younger males oftentimes team up temporarily with other young males to form a group that forges and feeds. Over time, as male elephants become more adult and more aggressive, they disband and spend more time alone. Asian elephants have developed many adaptations to help them survive in their habitat. Some of these adaptations are to help them stay cool in the heat. They spray themselves with water and roll in mud to cool themselves because they do not have sweat glands and live in hot, humid, tropical environments. Spraying themselves with water and flinging dust on themselves or rolling in mud also helps to prevent sunburn and insect bites. We saw this at the Oregon Zoo. The Asian elephant also has a trunk that has been adapted to help them eat, smell, touch, drink, and protect themselves from heat and insects. Their trunk is essential to their survival because elephants' necks are too short to reach the ground. Their trunk is extremely sensitive and consists of 150,000 clusters of muscles that run through it. The tip of the trunk acts as a finger and allows the elephant to pick up a single stem of a flower or a bundle of grass and vegetation. The trunk can also suck up water like a straw and spray themselves off with it like a sprinkler or eject it into their mouth so they can drink. Asian elephants have adapted a keen sense of smell and extremely good hearing because their eyes are too small to give them proper eyesight. Another interesting fact about the Asian elephant is that they communicate with each other using low-pitched sounds called infrasound. We humans cannot hear these sounds because it is below our range.
Only about 40,000 Asian elephants live in the wild, and only 15,000 Asian elephants live in captivity. These numbers may seem like a lot, but they are not. In the year 1900, Thailand estimated that there were more than 1 million Asian elephants in all of Asia. In 100 years, we have killed over 945,000 Asian elephants. The problem is only getting worse. 100 Asian elephants are killed every day. If we don't stop this, the Asian elephants will be extinct in 12 years. For thousands of years, humans have hunted and killed the Asian elephants to make the Asian elephant's ivory tusks into items that are culturally important to the locals in Asia. These beliefs may be important to the locals, but it does not condone killing these local creatures. As well as poaching, Asian elephants also suffer from habitat loss. As humans' needs expand, the animal kingdom has to shrink and adapt. As humans' want and need for things becomes greater, we destroy greater places and creatures. The Asian elephant is what's known as a keystone species. A keystone species is a species that is basically a species that is so important to their environment that if they die, it will cause a huge amount of harm to every animal living there. Without the Asian elephant, the entire ecosystem of Southeast Asia will collapse. Every single thing you do in life affects something else. By jumping in a pool, ripples are created and they eventually die out or hit the edge of the pool and come back. Our world is just like that. By driving your car to work, you are emitting dangerous chemicals that will destroy the ozone layer, the only thing keeping us between safety and damage from UV rays. Not only will these rays affect us, but also all the animals in the world, including the Asian elephant. Every little thing you do will hurt the world or heal it.
Asian elephants are commonly found in some religions and are seen to be very helpful in ancient times. Many circuses that have Asian elephants abuse and mistreat them. They whip them, starve them, and train them in such harsh ways just so the owner can make more money. Many of the elephants that die are from poaching for their tusks. People carve the tusks or sell them for a great price. Not everyone can see how much this is hurting the Asian elephant. Not all people are trying to destroy the Asian elephant species. Some people are trying their best to help. One of them is called Save the Asian Elephants, or STAE for short. STAE is based in the UK and focuses on getting Asian elephants away from people who abuse them, and they also raise awareness against abuse. Pink Elephants International is different from Save the Asian Elephants because they mostly focus on educating others through scientific research rather than directly helping the elephants. By educating others, they are empowering people to help make a change and try to conserve the Asian elephant species. There are many other organizations, such as the Oregon Zoo, helping the Asian elephant, whether it's directly or indirectly. Educating others at a young age is very important, and that is why people are going to schools to teach others about the threats humans are causing to the elephants. Protecting the habitat of the Asian elephants helps the species tremendously, not only protecting it from humans directly, but also protecting it from the pollution that humans cause. Every single thing wrong with the habitat is because of unwanted human intervention. As JGEM students, one of our goals to help is the Asian elephants, even if it's not in direct contact. A way that we can help is to explain to people what we know and about what's happening to the Asian elephants and tell them ways that they can help the animal. Another way we can help is to recycle. The more we recycle, the cleaner our environment will be, the safer Asian elephants, people, and other animals will be in the future. One last way we can help is to donate money we make from mowing lawns to organizations that protect the Asian elephant. I would like to thank Ms. Ramon for helping us do the Endangered Species Project and even giving us a chance to do them. Mr. and Mrs. Weddle for making our projects the best they can be, and of course, you, the panelists, for listening. Any questions?
Very good. Very good. All right, I'm going to be turning the camera here. I'm going to be turning the camera here so that you can see the students. Okay.
Here.
All righty. Who would like to start with questions?
I can go ahead.
Okay.
Just jump in. One of the things I was just thinking about was the threats are so diverse for these guys because their range is, or their natural range is so incredibly extensive. I mean, virtually any habitat in Southeast Asia, these guys would be quite happy in, as long as there's some food growing there. That's what I gather. So besides poaching, what specific kinds of habitat problems are creating problems for them? Like how are we destroying habitat?
Becky, go ahead.
Okay, just by like cutting down trees for like really lots of different reasons, from like wood to different types of farms and all that kind of stuff.
Adrian, did you want to add something
Just mainly deforestation.
in general?
That's good answers. I was thinking in terms of what can we do in terms of the resources we use and the actions we take that could have any impact whatsoever on the habitat in South Asia. And one thing did occur to me, but I don't know if you have any other ideas. I'll mention what occurred to me.
Any ideas on what you could do to reduce the deforestation over there?
Well, if you are actually there, then
Yeah.
like just replanting the trees, or for every tree you cut down, you plant two more somewhere else. Or like using some of the land that was used for like big farms and all that kind of stuff as sustainable tree farms, and with those type of trees that they need.
Yeah, great ideas.
That's great. Just what you were saying is one of the things I was thinking of. There are resources that we use that are exported to us, and the big one that's a huge industry there is in lots of Southeast Asia is palm oil farms, where huge swaths of forest are cut down and turned into these monocultures of palms, and then they are things like elephants would be kept from going there. It seems to me that's one resource we could pay attention to. And if you see anything that says hydrogenated palm oil, which will be almost any cookie that you buy, I mean, it's all over the place. If you just pick up your ingredients and see palm oil on it, try to find an alternative. That's one of the things that occurs to me. That's has become, particularly in tropical areas, one of the most dangerous practices, even though it's a very useful product. I was also wondering about differences between Asian elephants and African elephants, and maybe differences in their status in terms of how endangered or threatened they are.
Maybe someone other than Beckett?
Blake, you know the difference between Asian and African.
Oh, yeah, well, they have physical feature differences. Their ears are quite smaller than the African elephants, and Asian elephants also tend to have like a bump on their head.
Another physical like difference between them is their size. Asian elephants can tend to be a lot smaller than African, and their habitat as well.
That's great.
Well, in terms of genus, they're more closely related to the mammoth, really, is what I found than the Asian elephant itself.
Nice.
And I think we also asked, is the African elephant endangered as well?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, no?
I mean,
Well, it's,
yeah. It's a thing.
well, they're all endangered. I mean, they're both being poached for their tusks and for their skin, and it's cool.
I think a difference is, yes, there are many more, just numerically, African elephants than Asian elephants, and the populations aren't as fragmented. A map looking carefully at where there are wild Asian elephants right now is just shocking at how fragmented it is. Little strips, there are a little bit, few of them here, few of them here, and the groups in those small spaces have to be incredibly small. And when you're considering you're divided that 40,000 elephants into 95 areas where they're isolated from each other, little tiny islands, that puts them in way more trouble than the African elephants, who are also in trouble. I had a question for somebody who used to teach anatomy, vertebrate comparative anatomy. One of my favorite things about the elephants was its teeth, and I had one because I did some work at our LA zoo as an example from a deceased elephant. Know anything about their teeth?
They're flatter because they're herbivores, and they're a lot like humans.
In terms of the way, yeah, the occlusive surface would be similar to our back chewing teeth, but it's one big tooth, a tooth like this with a bunch of ridges on it. And they have a tooth, and then another one comes in, and then that's it. And if they lose it at that point, it's, in other words, if they live that long, it's going to limit how long they can live in the wild. And it's not as much of a problem because you can feed them something that they don't have to chew if they're in a zoo. So they'll live a lot longer there. So really, look that up. It's really interesting. Just incredible critters. And they're just so brilliant. They're so smart. This thing about an elephant's memory is absolutely true. They can see somebody they haven't seen for 40 years and cry when they see them.
All right, good stuff to think about here. Mr. Madlin, would you like to ask some questions?
Yeah, I was real curious about the, I forget which one of you was presenting it, but you were saying in addition to the ivory trade, which is the primary threat, and what Guy was mentioning them about the populations being islanded into these small groups, which is obviously bad for genetic diversity and ability to be sturdy against the environment and disease. I mean, you were saying that some of them were euthanized by farmers. It reminded me about the wolves in Idaho recently. They're going to open season on euthanizing wolves. What sort of trouble do the elephants get in with the farmers in Southeast Asia?
Mainly because they're eating their crops, and then the farmers tend to poach them because that's their like food, that's what they live on. So the elephants kind of like eat what they have to eat.
Did you guys discover any ways maybe farmers can protect their crops in non-lethal ways to increase the survival probability of elephants?
Well, most of the farmers that actually end up euthanizing the elephants, they usually have their crops or garden outside. I think maybe putting it indoors or someplace where the elephant can't see or get to it, I think that could be a solution.
Another way that they might be able to is by using darts or something, and calling somebody, and like non-lethal, of course.
Okay.
Just, put them to sleep for a few hours, and then they put them somewhere else, and then they'll be on their way.
I wonder if they could, sorry, go ahead.
I think putting up fences that are tall enough for the elephants is one of the best ways to keep them out.
They don't really jump, do they? They can't, not like a tiger.
I don't know what the resources are like. Some of these countries have a lot more wealth than others, but it seems like this would be a good use for electric fencing.
Yeah.
I don't.
Because elephants go through fences pretty easily.
Yeah, you got to have something extra.
Thank you. Mr. Weddle, any questions?
No, very good presentation, and I love elephants, and just so many. You did a great job. I'm interested. I thought it was interesting that you used the word euthanized instead of just shot. That's a kinder way of saying it, but what they really do is shoot the elephants, I think. So here's a question for you, and this I could have asked for any group. There's always a trade-off. This is not an easy, protecting endangered species is never easy. For example, when I was on my sabbatical year, I spent a lot of time in Myanmar, used to be Burma. And there they do elephant logging. So in Thailand, they essentially are stripping and logging huge, vast quantities of forest, sort of clear cutting. But in Thailand, in Myanmar, they're using elephants and they can go in and select specific trees. And so they're not destroying the whole forest to get their valuable teak wood or whatever. They're going in with the elephants and they can pick a tree, topple it, drag it out, so on. So they're protecting the forest, but they're capturing elephants and raising the elephants. And you said that they're mistreating them probably at the start, although they develop really close relationships with these elephants. They raise them as babies, and it's good, but it's still captivity. So you've got captivity of elephants, which is bad, protecting forests, which is good. So how does that weigh out? And you could say there are problems like that for every endangered species, I think. So any thoughts on that? I'm not sure that was a very clear question, just the point.
Yeah.
So can you repeat the question?
That's kind of a neutral question. Like it could be good and it could be bad. Maybe they can lower the amount of elephants that they can take into captivity, or maybe take elephants that have already been in captivity instead of getting new ones.
Could be. And maybe they change the way so they're treating the elephants more humanely, perhaps, when they're raising them. So one last question for you. We had huge forest fires in Oregon last September, devastating forest fires. What has the fire situation been like in South and Southeast Asia the last couple of years? Because those are forests where elephants live. Have there been big fires in Southeast Asia?
We don't quite know, but we could research that and get back to you.
Yeah. Mark and Guy, I think the answer is yes. I believe there were huge forest fires.
Big time. Yes.
Yeah, so that's another thing, and that is directly tied to global climate change, global warming, just like it is here. So once again, every species we've talked about today is threatened by global climate change in one way or another. And that's how global climate change is affecting elephants, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, every species in the entire world is affected by climate change.
Is affected by climate change, yes, including Homo sapiens sapiens, yes.
Mhm.
Us, yep. Okay,
I want to say a quick word to Mr. Maitland.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Maitland wanted to say hi to your wife.
Oh, okay. How you doing? Good to see you again. I will definitely send her my regards from both of you.
yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, well, great job, elephants.
Yeah.
Once again.
Thank you so much.
Was
What
great.
for both groups, what well-spoken, informed young people.